Well, that little gang stalker had his camera up photographing me as he drove by, just as I had mine up photographing him. Isn't that amazing? Now, meanwhile, I was walking to the mailbox to get my mail, and that is the second vehicle that passed. One passed going from right to left, and then this one from left to right. So yeah, so what happens is these criminals, they park at strategic locations. They might be at a neighbor's home in their parking lot or whatever. And then they get their little bell, like a Pavlov dog. And they're like, oh, wow, gift card. And then they zoom off to harass me. Just the way they do in the morning with the noise campaign. The noise campaign generally consists of, as soon as I'm getting ready to walk out the door, one of the vehicles that's parked alongside of the roads, they rev up their engine. Yeah, so they rev up the engine to make like a loud hum noise. And then, of course, if I don't go outside, it stops. But that's what they do here in rural Kentucky on the edge of a national forest. Yes, the people here have nothing better to do on a Saturday than to stalk a senior citizen. I'll just say that, a senior citizen. Yeah, I mean, imagine waking up in the morning knowing that you're going to harass somebody you've never met, you don't know, hasn't committed any crime, and just because somebody told you to do it, that you're moronic enough to get in your vehicle and do it. No questions asked. Oh, and by the way, I know that a lot of targeted people creating videos are claiming that they haven't seen as many of their stalkers as usual. Like, I haven't seen my neighbor. I don't know. Maybe she unalived herself. Maybe she's just hanging out in her house. Maybe she's not being paid anymore. Maybe she's reprimanded for being on Neighborhood Wars on A&E, April 11, 2023. Or maybe it's because she and her husband owe me over $600 from my gate. That one right there. That's my third gate. Yeah, the third gate since I'm living here. Just the way this gate here has been painted 4 times already, and each time I paint it, the paint is scraped off. But so yeah, I haven't seen the neighbors, some of the neighbors, as often as I usually do. Maybe they're not getting paid anymore. Maybe they have to rotate the perpetrators, because what happens is, I'm here 5 years now. Like, generally, like, if you're here, 2 years or longer, that is, that's enough time for a person to file a lawsuit against these criminals. The statute of limitations for certain crimes. So if they continue, like if my neighbors continue to harass me, it just creates one big paper trail of criminal activity. But if it escalates, or I should say, if it doesn't escalate, then, you go before the judge and they say, well, that happened 2 years ago. Right? Well, what's happening now? Oh, but there are new people doing it now. But I could still drag their sorry asses into court for owing me over $600 for tearing out my gates. And I could also drag into court my neighbor up the block. Who stole the gate that was on the floor that I paid. I paid him to remove the one that was on the floor, that wasn't on the floor when I moved here. It was upright and able to close. But somebody removed it, dug it into the ground. I couldn't pick it up. I wasn't strong enough. And I paid him to do that, and he took the gate. Never returned it. Yeah, never returned it. He also stole from me, again, when I moved here, there was a lot of debris around the property. And of course, the former owner, he just saved everything. Well, I had 2 antique vintage chassis that weighed, I don't know how much, hundreds of pounds. And I said, at some point, I'm going to have you remove these and and do the scrap metal thing. Well, I went up there like a few weeks later, and both of the chassis were gone. And I remember asking him, I said, did you take the chassis? Oh, yeah, I took them. Well, how come? So you took them without telling me. Now, where's the money for the scrap metal? Never heard from him. I mean, that had to have been a few $100s because they're two heavy chassis. And then, of course, the gate from across the street. We're not talking about little scrap metals like collecting a bunch of nails and screws and little pieces of metal that you find around the property. We're talking about hundreds of pounds of scrap metal that he stole. Yeah, he stole. That's right. You still could be part of the lawsuit, Chris. Yeah, you. You can still be part of the lawsuit. Because I guarantee that there aren't a lot of very strong people around here that could lift a barrel of 456 pounds of water every time. There aren't a lot of people that could do that. But if you can lift up a chassis, a car chassis, then you too could probably lift up 456 gallons of water and either steal it or dump it. So you're the first person on my list of suspects for dumping my water. Yeah. Just saying. And like I said, you know, I've said it before. When I lived in New Jersey, I was like a really peaceful person. I did volunteer work. I did 6 years of volunteer work at the local Alcohol and Drug Alliance Committee. I also arranged, myself, did all the legwork, contacted Naranon so that I could set up a Naratine in my hometown, which I did do. Of course, you know, in Manalapan, New Jersey, nobody wants their dirty laundry spilled out, like all the local doctors that are doing drugs and prescribing the teenagers Vicodin, and they're getting addicted because of their sports injuries. No, nobody wanted their kids to go to Naratine. So after about 9 months, I had to close it down because I was just spending a lot of time there. But yeah, so this was my life before being targeted. I did so much volunteer work. I remember, I think it was on either Thanksgiving or Christmas Eve, was at a local food bank serving food to the local people. And as a young woman, when I lived in New York City, or I should say, no, I was living in Queens at the time. On my weekends, I would go into the city, 42nd Street, to Covenant House, which is called Under 21. And I was an intake counselor there. I had to interview the runaways to find out, and they stuck me in the pregnancy section. So I had to interview the girls and find out where their baby daddy is, who did it. A lot of times it was a family member. I'd have to set up job interviews for them. This is all on my free time. I used to bring clothes there, and I would go there, and I was a pretty young woman, and you could only imagine, like, walking down 42nd Street on an early Saturday morning to Covenant House, under 21, being hit on all the time. And then I remember there was one time I was serving food during lunchtime. And this is not a value judgment. I did this, you know, because I wanted to do it. I wanted to help, you know. I was a kind-hearted person. I wanted to help the underprivileged people. So I'm serving the food. And this one kid, because they are kids, he was towering over me. He was huge, big guy. Well, he decided that after I served him, that he was going to throw the food at me. He was going to throw the food back at me. And I said to him, I said, I don't have to be here. Don't have to be here. I'm here because I want to be here. And then his friend next to him was like hitting him in the side saying, why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? So I go sit down by myself, I'm eating my lunch. And evidently either whatever I said to him or his friend said to him, he came over and apologized to me. That's right. This huge African-American guy towered over my skinny little ass, and he came over and apologized to me. And even back then, I was not going to take that shit from somebody. I told him flat out, I don't have to be here. So you think, at my advanced years now, I'm going to take the shit from my neighbors? These lowlifes that live in huge houses and drive $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 tractors? When I used to drag my ass out of bed on a Saturday morning and go to 42nd Street to feed homeless kiddos and interview pregnant girls, I'm going to take that shit from these losers that all live in houses that steal from me? And I hope you're all listening, you fucking losers, because that's what you are. So my life before coming to remote rural Kentucky to be away from the big cities, there are more morons and losers in rural areas than there are in the cities. At least in the city, somebody does you wrong, they'll come over and apologize to you. Yeah, so there's my Saturday rant. But yeah, so prior to this, that was my life. I did a lot of volunteer work. And then, of course, go through my usual divorce, and I get horrible divorce lawyers. The feral cat cartel criminals. Oh, yes, and I'm not finished with that story. I'm so not finished with that story. I have to be in the mood to discuss who is involved in the feral cat cartel. And I know for a fact that one of them is involved. I know for a fact because the CFO of one of the national feral cat cartel organizations, the one that was in Maryland that might be in California now, and the president stepped down and retired, and then they got that CFO left, and Glassdoor. There are dozens of negative reviews. You've got to go there and read about them. Maybe I'll just read them to you. Had the audacity to call me on a Friday night at 7 p.m. after I had sent a letter about being reciprocal. They wanted me to take in 9 cats into my cat colony. 9. And not mention anything about it to anybody. Not give a shout out to Freya's Cat Rescue. Not give a shout out to Lorraine in New Jersey. Not donate cat food or veterinary care for the future of those 9 cats. Especially when one turned out to be somebody that got caught up in their feral cat TNR cartel that turned out to be a house cat. A house cat that might have been wandering around from somebody's backyard for the day and got caught up in their nasty TNR project. Was a house cat that I ended up adopting. I had no choice. He kept jumping into my car. He kept jumping into my car when I would go and feed them there. So this bitch, yeah, she's a bitch. I'll just say it flat out. Who runs this organization now, chief financial officer, calls me on a Friday night to say, what's the matter? I got your letter. And I said, well, I'm interested in reciprocity here. Oh, well, no. Have you heard that song by Alanis Morissette about Dear Narcissist Boy? Well, listen to the lyrics. So I'm here talking to who I thought was just a worker there until I'm ready to hang up and I ask who she is, and it's like, holy crap, I know who that bitch is. I know because she had a short stint at the New York City kill shelter. That's right. I don't think she's ever had a pet before. She definitely doesn't have a cat or a dog. I think her father was part of the Illuminati Freemasons. He's born on May Day, died on May Day, May Day, May Day. Like that feral cat that attacked me on May Day. But anyway, she calls me up saying, what's wrong? And she has a sweet little voice. She's got a sweet little voice. Kind of reminds me of the real estate agent that shows up here dressed like for a 6-year-old birthday party. She said, well, I said, well, not only did you photograph my cats for your advertising, but, I'm just looking for maybe some food to donate. They're a multi-million-dollar feral cat cartel nonprofit. They can't donate on a monthly basis some cans or dry cat food for the 9 cats that I took into my colony. Well, no, they couldn't do that for me. They're already out of their budget. They couldn't do that for me. So before I hung up, I said, I said, who is this? Because it's Friday night. She says, oh, it's blah, 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 blah. She said, I'm the CFO. I said, oh, okay. I hung up. It's like, holy crap. I know who that biatch is. That name sounded vaguely familiar, but why isn't it on their website? Wouldn't you be proud to have your name on the website? No, you know why? Because if you look her up and you see where she worked before and what her job responsibility was for putting the pets on death row and not allowing people to adopt them, and then selling those cats for animal experimentation rather than allowing people to adopt them, yeah, that's the one. That's the one. But all those TNR proponents out there, you'll say, oh, well, that's not true. She didn't do that. Well, yeah, it is true. Because I saved it to my phone. But guess what happened? Guess what happened? Not only was it her information saved to my phone, but years later, when I moved to Kentucky, somebody deleted the phone number. It wasn't me. Somebody had access to my phone and deleted her phone number. Yep. So you always know who's involved in your targeting and stuff because they do stuff like that. They give themselves away every day. Oh, yeah. And I'm not in my house. Otherwise, I would read to you the Glassdoor. Glassdoor, by the way, for anybody that doesn't know, if you're job searching or you want to find out information on companies that you want to work for, like if it's IBM or AT&T or Amazon or whatever, you go into Glassdoor and you read the reviews of people who have interviewed with them and or were employed and either were fired or left the company on their own accord. So you'll find it extremely interesting if you are job searching, if you want to research a company. Or how about the companies that target us? You can go look up those companies too. You do, unfortunately, now have to set up an account. And they want to make sure that you're truly job searching, so they may ask you to upload a resume or some part of your work history in order to maintain the account. I guess people were abusing it and actually not contributing to their website. They are a job search website, so they have clients that look for people. Sort of like, if you post your resume on LinkedIn and people can search for you on LinkedIn. But Glassdoor is specifically reviewing companies. Yeah, and this one, this feral cat, National Feral Cat Cartel. If I remember correctly, I think they have 1.6 something stars. You know, you can get 5 stars. And the only reason they have the 1.6 is because an employee ratted it out that the CFO actually put in positive reviews on the company. Oh my goodness gracious. So what I was going to say in the beginning is, you know, I was like a really good person, and I kept to myself, did volunteer work and stuff. And I didn't vote. Don't smoke, drink, or do drugs, eat organic food. I worked out all the time. I was in the best physical condition of my life in my mid-50s. And started my own businesses, and every one of them was successful. And was able to maintain my house at 52 Sutton Drive, Manalapan, New Jersey, in a home I lived in as original owner for 30 years. Until I was targeted by the Manalapan Police Department and other unsavory people like the Feral Cat Cartel, Maria in Barnegat, New Jersey, corrupt lawyers, and celebrity narcissists. Yeah, they're all involved. But I never really spoke out. You know, if somebody bothered me, I would talk to them directly. Well, you know, I have to retract that, because I spoke to a targeted female a couple of weeks ago, and she said, Lorraine, I have a feeling you may have gotten on the list because during your divorce, you wrote to Governor McGreevey, who wrote to the judge to ask the judge why my divorce was taking so long. I think that might have pissed off my divorce lawyer a little bit. What do you think, guys? Please leave a comment down below. Please leave a comment down below if you think that's one of the reasons I'm on the list. And then another person said, oh, I know why you're on the list. Because for your master's degree, all you talked about was the negative side effects of ADHD medication and the healthy alternatives for eating healthy, staying away from Wi-Fi, the food dyes that are making kids crazy. Well, that could be a reason too. I mean, certainly in university, that's all I did for 2 years is talk about the negative side effects of ADHD drugs. And that was all the research that I performed for 2 years. That could have certainly pissed off some of those professors, right? Like, I mean, come on, it could be any number of things. But definitely the phone number getting erased from my phone of that CFO woman from that Friday night phone call when I lived in Manalapan, New Jersey, that's certainly a clue. It's certainly a clue. So anyway, please leave a comment down below. I'm going to get back in the house, finish a cup of coffee. Oh, there goes my solar light that fell down again. Generally, the solar light gets pulled off by the criminals. Of course, they could easily do that while I'm talking on the phone, because there's always one of those criminals locally, and they could hit it with their energy weapon, the way they do when I walk in the front door. But anyway, I hope everybody's doing well on this Saturday. You can see how pretty it is here. It's very humid, though. It's going to be in the 90s. You could actually see the humidity in the air. It's hot, guys. It's cool over here, like this area. That's the one thing I love about the property is, like, it is like hotter than hell, like right there where the sun is, but it stays nice and cool back in here where all the trees are. It's literally like 15 degrees cooler back in here at the hottest part of the day. It's quite nice. But please leave a comment down below. Hit the thumbs up, helps the channel grow. And thank you for all the new subscribers. I appreciate your tuning in, because what is happening to me is actually happening to people across the country. People need to wake up that these bizarre events that are happening in your life are being specifically done to you. They're being done to you. Your animals are not acting crazy for no reason at all. They're not suddenly dying because of some weird thing that came out of the blue. Your animals are being targeted. Your farm animals are being targeted. Your chickens are being targeted. They send radio frequencies here that are like crazy, where for 10 minutes my birds go berserk. And I'll come out here and look around. There's no fox. I mean, it could actually be a cloaked person that they're sensing, you know, moving around here. That's a possibility. But generally, I think it's frequencies that are designed to make them act up to harass me and them. But anyway, hope everybody's having a good Saturday today. I just posted a video about Idaho banning water for the farmers. And they've already planted their crops and their potatoes, and this is going to affect everyone. Potatoes are used for so many things. It's not just French fries and baked potatoes. Potatoes are used, the potato starch is used in baked goods. It's used in breads. You know, they're potato breads. It's used in feed, certain feeds, potato starch in farm animal food, in your pet food. It's used as a thickener for soups. You'll find little pieces of potato in many of your soups and vegetable soups and stuff. So what are we going to do without potatoes? Right? So this is very serious, very serious. And the reason for it, now this is what I heard, okay? This is what I heard, that the reason for it is because they, around the same time, started up cobalt mining in Idaho, and they need the water for that project. So they're going to steal the water from the farmers producing food for the cobalt mines. That's right. And why cobalt? I believe it has something to do with the semiconductors, right? The semiconductors. But anyway, I'm not all read up on that. But this is a very serious matter, guys, and it's carefully contrived, carefully orchestrated. And little girlie, you want to go in the house? I know it's getting hot out here. So I'm going to sign off for now. I hope everybody's doing well.